The string quartet was playing something soft and haunting as I stepped into the stone pavilion. Twinkling lights wrapped around the bare branches overhead, and the cool late autumn air carried that crisp bite that makes everything feel sharper, more alive. I smoothed the fabric of my deep emerald dress, suddenly aware of how the chill brushed against my bare shoulders. My name is Mira Harlow. I'm 38, and I teach literature to restless high school seniors in a quiet suburban town. Lately, my own life has felt like one of those half-finished novels I assign, pages turning, but the story stuck in a chapter I no longer recognize. My marriage had been fading for years, a slow unraveling that finally led to separation a few months ago. Tonight, I came to this wedding alone, telling myself it would be nice to celebrate someone else's beginning while I figured out my own uncertain middle. I didn't expect him. Not here. Not after so much time. Julian Reese stood across the pavilion, tall and quietly composed in his charcoal suit, the lantern light catching the faint silver at his temples. Our eyes met over the rows of velvet chairs just as the bride began her walk. Something inside my chest tightened, a warm flutter I hadn't felt in years. His gaze held mine for a long second, and I felt my breath catch. That single look carried memories I thought I had neatly packed away. Late-night conversations on a balcony years ago. The way his laugh used to make the world feel lighter. The quiet understanding we once shared before life pulled us in different directions. I looked away first, pressing my fingers lightly against the cool stone pillar beside me. My heart was already beating faster than it should. The ceremony continued, vows exchanged under strings of golden lights, but my thoughts kept drifting back to him. Why did seeing Julian again stir this restless hunger so quickly? I was still technically married, even if the papers were being drawn up. This flutter of warmth, this dangerous little spark, it felt both beautiful and wrong at the same time. When the ceremony ended and guests began to rise, I lingered near the edge of the pavilion, leaves crunching softly under my heels. The air smelled of damp earth and fading roses. I told myself I wouldn't seek him out, yet when I felt his presence approaching, a gentle warmth cutting through the evening chill, I couldn't stop the small, secret smile that touched my lips. What was it about this night that already felt like it might change everything? Guests spilled out toward the glass conservatory, where the reception glowed warmly against the darkening sky. I moved with the crowd, the crisp air nipping at my skin, carrying the faint scent of fallen leaves and approaching rain. My pulse still hadn't settled from that first locked gaze during the ceremony. Every step felt heavier with unspoken questions. Julian found me on the wide stone terrace just beyond the main doors. Soft music from the string quartet drifted out, mingling with quiet laughter and the rustle of autumn leaves skittering across the flagstones. He approached with that same quiet confidence I remembered, holding 2 glasses of sparkling wine. The lantern light caught the sharp line of his jaw as he offered one to me. "Mira Harlow," he said, his voice low and warm, like it had been waiting years to speak my name again. "It's been too long." I took the glass, our fingers brushing for the briefest moment. That small touch sent a delicate shiver racing up my arm, nothing like the cold evening breeze. "Julian Reese," I replied softly, meeting his eyes. "I almost didn't recognize you with the silver touching your temples. It suits you." He smiled, that slow, thoughtful smile that once made my stomach flutter. We stood side by side at the terrace railing, looking out over the garden where golden leaves still clung to the trees. The air felt alive with possibility and quiet danger. I sipped the wine, letting its crisp sweetness linger on my tongue while my mind raced. He asked about my life now, and I told him the truth. Teaching literature, how the student's passion sometimes reminded me of feelings I had tucked away. I mentioned the separation gently, not as a complaint, but as a quiet fact that still sat heavy in my chest. He listened without interrupting, his shoulder occasionally brushing mine as we leaned closer against the growing chill. "You always had that quiet fire in you, Mira," he said, his breath visible in the cool air. Even back then, my heart quickened at the memory. Back then, we had shared long evenings talking about books and dreams, a connection that felt electric, but never crossed any lines because I was already committed. Now, Standing here with the faint mist beginning to gather, that old pull felt stronger, warmer, more insistent. A small voice inside whispered that I shouldn't lean into this feeling, not when my marriage was still unraveling on paper. Yet every time his gaze lingered on my face a second longer than necessary, a restless hunger stirred deep within me, making my skin tingle beneath the thin fabric of my dress. We spoke of small things, the bride's beautiful vows, the way the lights danced in the trees, but beneath the words lay something heavier. His hand rested near mine on the railing, close enough that I could feel the warmth radiating from him. When a sudden gust of wind made me shiver, he stepped slightly closer, shielding me without a word. That protective nearness sent a wave of forbidden longing through me, sweet and aching all at once. Was it wrong to feel this alive again, this quickly? To let one man's quiet attention wake parts of me that had been sleeping for so long? I glanced at him, heart racing, wondering if he could hear how loudly it beat in the quiet between our sentences. The drizzle began then, soft patters on the stone and leaves, urging everyone inside. But we lingered just a moment longer on that terrace, the tension between us growing like the mist rolling in from the woods. Something told me this night was only beginning to unfold its secrets. The drizzle grew steadier, coaxing us all into the glass conservatory where the reception unfolded like a warm, glowing dream. Crystal chandeliers mixed with strings of soft lanterns cast a golden haze over everything. Rain pattered gently on the glass roof above, creating a private rhythm that seemed to cocoon the room. I felt the cool dampness still clinging to my skin from the terrace, yet inside, the air carried a subtle warmth that made my cheeks flush. Julian guided me toward the dance floor with the lightest touch at the small of my back. That simple contact sent a spark traveling through me, warm and electric against the lingering chill. "May I?" he asked, his voice low, almost a whisper meant only for me. I nodded, placing my hand in his as the quartet shifted into a slow, sweeping melody. His other hand settled at my waist, steady and sure, the heat of his palms seeping through the fabric of my dress. We moved together slowly, bodies close but not too close, yet every sway brought us nearer in ways words couldn't capture. The scent of his cologne, something woody and clean, mingled with the crisp autumn air that had followed us inside, and the faint sweetness of rain on glass. My heart raced with each step, a restless flutter that made breathing feel both easy and impossible. I could feel the subtle strength in his frame, the way his fingers rested with such gentle possession. It stirred something deep and dangerous inside me, a forbidden longing I had no right to feel. As we turned under the soft lights, his breath brushed warm against my ear. "You still move like someone lost in a favorite book," he murmured. A soft laugh escaped me, but it carried a tremble. Memories flooded back, those stolen conversations years ago when his words had made my world feel wider. Now, with my marriage hanging by threads, this closeness felt like stepping into forbidden territory. My skin tingled where his hand rested, a warm desire spreading slowly, making me acutely aware of every point of contact. I pulled back slightly to meet his eyes, searching for answers in their quiet depth. "Julian, this feels..." I hesitated, the words catching with guilt and craving. "It feels like waking up after a very long sleep." He didn't answer right away, only held my gaze as we continued to sway. The rain intensified, drumming a steady beat overhead, mirroring the quickening pulse in my veins. We danced through several songs, each one drawing the tension tighter. Between pieces, we found quieter corners near potted ferns and velvet seating, sharing fragments of the years we'd missed. He told me about his work as an architect, designing spaces that captured light the way he once captured my attention. I spoke of my students, how teaching poetry sometimes left me aching for my own unspoken verses. Every shared smile, every accidental brush of fingers when passing a drink, built layers of small temptations. My mind whispered warnings, "Remember your husband, remember the papers not yet signed." But my body leaned into the pull, skin warming despite the cool night air seeping through the glass. At one point, as the music slowed further, He drew me a fraction closer. The warmth of his chest near mine sent a delicious shiver down my spine. I closed my eyes for a heartbeat, letting the sensation wash over me. The gentle pressure of his hand, the rhythmic patter of rain, the way my heart hammered with both fear and longing. Was it terrible to crave this connection so fiercely when my own life felt so unsettled? The question lingered in my chest like a secret I wanted to confess. Later, we stepped to the edge of the dance floor, near an arched window where droplets traced lazy paths down the glass. He brushed a stray lock of hair from my cheek, his fingertips grazing my skin with feather-light tenderness. That touch ignited a deeper restlessness, a hungry ache that spread through me like warm honey. I felt dangerously alive, caught between the safety of what I knew and the irresistible draw of what could be. "Tell me honestly," I whispered, my voice soft and vulnerable, barely rising above the music and rain. "Do you ever wonder what might have happened if timing had been different back then?" The words slipped out, heavy with emotion, leaving my pulse racing even faster. His answer came in a quiet gaze that held promises and restraint, deepening the taboo tension that wrapped around us both. The night deepened, yet the pull between us only grew stronger, each moment layering forbidden longing with tender, aching romance. My inner world swirled with conflict and craving, the warm desire making every breath feel like a small surrender. How much longer could I resist leaning fully into this feeling? Script for Part 4 is starting below. The rain grew heavier, drumming insistently on the glass roof like a secret urging us onward. Julian leaned close, his voice a gentle murmur against the noise. "Come with me for a moment. It's getting too loud in here." His hand found mine with natural ease, warm fingers wrapping around my cooler ones, sending a fresh wave of tingling warmth up my arm. I didn't hesitate. We slipped through a side door into the lantern-lit garden path, leaving the celebration behind. Cool mist wrapped around us as we stepped outside. Fallen amber leaves crunched softly beneath our feet, releasing their earthy scent into the damp air. The string lights overhead glowed like distant stars, their reflections shimmering in the growing puddles. I shivered as the chill settled on my bare shoulders, but Julian noticed immediately. Without a word, he shrugged off his suit jacket and draped it over me, the fabric still carrying his body heat and that subtle woody cologne. The gesture felt so tenderly protective that my breath caught, a rush of forbidden longing blooming deep in my chest. We walked slowly along the winding path lined with stone borders and bare rose bushes. Raindrops pattered on the leaves around us, creating a soft, intimate curtain that made the world feel smaller, just the two of us. "I've thought about you more than I should have over the years," he admitted quietly, his shoulder brushing mine as we moved. His words hung in the cool air, stirring memories and new cravings I had tried to ignore. My heart raced with a restless hunger, skin prickling not just from the cold, but from the dangerous closeness. In a quiet alcove, sheltered by an old stone wall and climbing vines, we paused. Lantern light flickered across his face, highlighting the gentle lines of concern and desire in his expression. I pulled the jacket tighter around myself, inhaling his scent mingled with the crisp autumn night. "This feels wrong in so many ways," I whispered, my voice trembling with vulnerability. "I'm still sorting through the end of my marriage, yet being here with you makes everything feel brighter, warmer." He stepped closer, close enough that I could feel the heat radiating from him, cutting through the misty chill. His fingers brushed a damp strand of hair from my forehead, the touch lingering just a second longer than necessary. That small contact sent sparks dancing across my skin, awakening a warm, insistent pull that made my knees feel unsteady. We stood there in the soft glow, eyes locked, the rain creating a private symphony around our silence. Inner conflict swirled inside me, guilt over my almost ex, the papers waiting to be signed, the life I was supposed to be rebuilding alone. Yet the irresistible attraction tugged stronger, a romantic longing that felt both beautiful and taboo. Julian spoke softly about how life's unexpected turns had brought us here tonight, his breath visible in the cool air. Every word wrapped around me like the jacket he'd given, comforting and dangerously tempting. I felt my pulse quicken as he shared a quiet laugh over a shared memory, the sound low and intimate. My body responded with a subtle shiver of craving, the kind that starts deep and spreads slowly, making me acutely aware of how alive I felt in his presence. He offered his arm as we continued a few more steps, and I took it, leaning into his steady warmth. The mist thickened, droplets catching in my lashes, but all I could focus on was the gentle pressure of his arm against mine and the way my heart hammered with equal parts fear and yearning. In that sheltered alcove, time seemed to slow. We talked in hushed tones about dreams we once whispered about, now resurfacing with new intensity. Each shared glance carried micro-temptations, a lingering look at my lips, the way his thumb brushed lightly over my knuckles when our hands met again. The pull between us felt heavier now, laced with emotional vulnerability. I sighed softly, the sound lost in the rain, confessing inwardly how this night was unraveling years of quiet numbness. His nearness made my skin tingle with warm desire, a forbidden flame flickering brighter despite every reason it shouldn't. Yet I couldn't step away. The romance of the moment, the lantern light, the mist, his protective jacket, the tender way he listened, created an ache that was both sweet and dangerous. How could one evening stir such restless hunger in me? Standing there with Julian, the world reduced to rain and soft light and unspoken possibilities, I felt the boundaries of my careful life blurring in the most tempting way. The rain had softened into a gentle mist by the time the wedding began to wind down. Lanterns still twinkled through the haze as Julian walked me toward the gravel parking area where my car waited. The cool night air wrapped around us, carrying the rich scent of wet leaves and distant wood smoke from the venue's fireplace. His jacket still rested on my shoulders, heavy with his warmth, and I found myself clutching it a little tighter, reluctant to let the moment slip away. Our footsteps crunched softly on the path, the sound mingling with the distant murmur of goodbyes and fading music. We moved slowly, neither of us eager to reach the end. Every few steps our arms brushed, sending small ripples of tingling awareness through me. My heart hadn't slowed since the alcove. That restless hunger lingered, warm and insistent, making the chill on my skin feel sharper by contrast. Under a cluster of string lights near the exit, Julian stopped and turned to face me. The soft glow caught in his eyes, revealing a depth of quiet longing that mirrored my own. "Mira," he said, his voice low and rough with emotion. "Tonight reminded me how rare it is to feel this connected to someone." His words hung between us, heavy with unspoken possibilities. I looked up at him, my breath visible in the misty air, pulse racing as the space between us seemed to shrink. A near moment passed then, one where time stretched and everything else faded. He lifted his hand, fingers hovering near my cheek as if to brush away another stray leaf or droplet, but he paused. I felt the warmth of his breath, the magnetic pull drawing me closer. My skin prickled with anticipation, a dangerous wave of desire washing through me, sweet and forbidden all at once. In that heartbeat, guilt flickered, thoughts of the marriage I was still unraveling, the careful life I was supposed to rebuild. But the craving overpowered it, leaving me breathless and vulnerable. "I don't know what this means," I whispered, my voice soft and trembling with honesty. "But I haven't felt this awake in such a long time." He nodded slowly, eyes never leaving mine, the tension thick and romantic in the cool night. The mist swirled around us like a secret keeper, heightening every sensation, the chill on my exposed skin, the steady heat from his body so close, the rapid flutter in my chest that refused to calm. We stood there a moment longer, the world reduced to lantern light and shared silence. Then, with gentle reluctance, he helped me into my car, his hand lingering on the doorframe. "Drive safely," he said, but his gaze promised this night wasn't truly over in our hearts. As I started the engine, I watched him step back into the mist, his figure framed by the glowing venue behind him. Alone now, driving through the darkened roads lined with bare trees, I replayed every touch, every whispered word, every charged glance. The warm desire still hummed beneath my skin, a restless longing that refused to fade. This evening had awakened something profound in me, a romantic, taboo-tinged pull that felt both terrifying and beautifully alive. I thought of Julian's quiet strength, the way his presence had made the autumn night feel electric, and a soft sigh escaped my lips. How had one reunion at a wedding stirred such deep, dangerous feelings? The night had changed me in ways I couldn't yet name, leaving with a tender ache and an irresistible memory I knew I would carry long after the mist cleared. Back in my quiet hotel room later that night, the only sound was the soft patter of rain against the window. I slipped out of my emerald dress, letting it pool on the floor, and wrapped myself in the thick robe provided by the hotel. The fabric felt cool against my still tingling skin, but nothing could chase away the warmth Julian had left behind. I sank onto the edge of the bed, staring at the faint glow of the bedside lamp, my mind replaying every moment like pages from my favorite novel. The way his eyes had found mine across the pavilion, the gentle brush of his fingers on my cheek in the alcove, the steady warmth of his jacket around my shoulders as we walked through the mist. Each memory sent a fresh wave of restless longing through me, sweet and aching. My heart still fluttered with that dangerous pull, a forbidden tenderness I had no right to feel so deeply. Yet here I was, alone in the quiet dark, unable to quiet the craving his presence had awakened. I thought of my almost ex, the papers waiting back home, the life I was slowly piecing together. Guilt whispered at the edges, but it couldn't overpower the beautiful truth of tonight. For the first time in years, I had felt truly seen, truly alive under the soft lantern light and autumn rain. Julian had stirred something romantic and deeply intimate in me, a slow-burning connection that felt both taboo and tenderly inevitable. Lying back against the pillows, I let out a soft sigh, closing my eyes as the memories washed over me again. That night at the wedding, I would never forget it. The crisp air, the golden leaves, the way one unexpected reunion had set my quiet world trembling with new possibility. The hunger lingered, warm and persistent, promising that some stories are meant to unfold beyond a single evening. If this confession stirred something in your own heart, if you've ever felt that unexpected spark in the middle of a quiet chapter, please subscribe for more intimate stories like this, and tell me in the comments, have you ever met someone again at just the right wrong moment and felt everything change in a single night? I'd love to hear your thoughts. Thank you for listening to my story. Good night.